Hey guys, Jameson Redding here with the Road Trip Angler, and today I want to do a quick review and kind of overview of the Yakattack BlackPack Pro. The BlackPack Pro from Yakattack is available in 3 different sizes. A 13 by 13 inch size. We'll be unboxing and putting together a 13 by 16 today, and it also comes in a 16 by 16 inch size. Right here on the box says it's built for life, has a lifetime guarantee. In my experience with Yakattack, anytime we've ever had an issue with any of their products, they've replaced it, no questions asked. So that's really awesome. It is fully customizable. It says lightweight construction, and this particular model comes with 4 rod tubes. Let's get started with opening the box and see what's inside. I'm putting together the olive green one, which is a special edition color for fall of 2022, but other than that, it's the exact same as any 16 by 13 or 13 by 16 BlackPack. All right, to get started, we have in the box 4 rod tubes. I'm just gonna set those aside. Taking a look at the first page here of the instructions, step 1 is to connect the tethers to the tether tubes. It is the only kit that has bungee in it, so it's kit E. What I'm going to start with is just simply tying a knot in the end of this piece of bungee. Just an overhand knot, just like that. The next step here is to feed that through one of the hooks. And you'll see on the hook that it has kind of a box or opening on one side, and then the other side that is towards the bottom. So you actually want to feed the line through the box side that's completely closed on all 4 sides, and then come out the other. After you tie the knot in the one end and pass the line through the square kind of opening on the hook, I'm going to tie another overhand knot on the other end of the bungee. The next step is to pass the end that you just tied the knot on through the opening or hole here in the top of the rod tube. And once you have that passed through, you can pull it tight and kind of set that where it's going to go, where it's going to rest on the rod tube. There's a couple of things that I do feel like are missing from the instructions here, or that could be a little better. For example, tying this knot before you push it through the end of this rod tube, I think it would be easier, and the way I've been doing it over the last couple of installs has been to pass that piece of bungee through here before tying this knot in the end. That just makes it a little easier to get it in there, and you can always tie the knot as soon as you get done with that. The other thing is the instructions don't really tell you to install this piece, which is the little bungee keeper here at the bottom. It goes on the bottom of the tube, and it's easier, I think, if you wrap this around and go ahead and put it in the top. And this piece of, or this step is in the actual instructions. So you just wrap it around the bottom here and pull it tight, pass the bungee through the opening of the slot, and then let the knot tuck in to the hole provided for it. So now you see the bungee is wrapped around the bottom, but there's nothing to retain it. But there is a picture in the instructions of this part, but it doesn't really go over what you need to do to install it. It's pretty simple. Again, I pulled the 4 small screws out of kit E, which is the kit for putting the rod tethers on the tether tubes. And those 4 screws will be used to install this piece. So you just put it on the bottom here. And then I'm going to use a screwdriver for this just because it's a short screw. I will be using the drill for a lot of this just because there's a lot of screws. You just have to be careful not to strip things out, and the screwdriver does that a little easier. But that is the tether installed on the actual tether tube right there. As I'm flipping through the instructions here, it's kind of funny. The things that I said that I didn't like about the instructions, they actually have an addendum that I had missed when I opened the instructions. So those steps are here. They were in the instructions and they're very clear. But essentially what you want to do now is repeat this process with the rest of the rod tubes. Moving on to step 2, now that we've got the tether tubes finished, you are going to be installing the panels together. So you'll take the 4 side panels and the bottom panel. If you're going to use a power tool, you want to use something that has a variable speed and a torque option on it, so that you can slow that drill down and also put that torque setting to the lightest setting, because you are screwing into plastic and you can strip it out if you're not careful. The bottom is kind of corrugated here, and the top is flat. So this will actually be the very bottom of the BlackPack. So this will face down, and this will be what you're setting all your tackle on inside, or the floor of the inside of the BlackPack. So you'll just line that up. You've got a slot for that piece to go into right there. Now I'm going to attach the second side panel, and then you can start adding some screws to kind of hold everything together. So lining up the slot again, I'm just going to push this in. And at this time you can actually put some screws in to hold this together. So you really just want to put these 4 screws in and not start going across the bottom yet. This is kit A, and it does reference to use the hardware kit A in the instructions. You also want to make sure that the screw is straight and lined up really well before you start. And again, I'm just barely putting any tension on that. You can see where these screws come through on the inside here. For step 4 here, we're going to actually be repeating step 2 and adding the next side panel. So it should look something like that. Now I have 3 of the sides put together. It's time to install that last side. The reason it's important to go all the way around, and you'll see this right now, and not to screw in these bottom ones, is because you may need to kind of manipulate these ends to get everything to line up. So this one goes on really easy, but the very last one, you actually have to kind of pull this side panel out, put this down in, and then push it back together. So in the instructions, step 5 and 6, 5, you'll install the rest of the screws on the sides here, and step 6, you'll go around the bottom and install all the screws all the way around the bottom of the pack. Three screws on the short side of the 13 by 16 and 4 on the long side. Now I have all 4 sides installed and the floor installed on the BlackPack. Step 7 is installing the rubber feet, which is something I really like about the BlackPack because it keeps it from sliding around. That was one of the cons with the older BlackPack, is that if you set it down, say in the bed of your pickup truck, and you're driving somewhere, it could slide really easily. But these rubber feet really make it grip the kayak, or any surface that you're going to be setting. We're going to install those now, and it says hardware pack B has everything I need to do that. And what you want to do is put a flat washer into the rubber feet first, and then the screw, and then you're going to line those up like so on the bottom. We'll just go around the box and get all 4 of these installed. It's a lot easier this way. Step 8 is to actually install these other rubber pieces that were in that kit that we just opened, and that was kit B. And those go on the lid. I'm gonna grab the lid. On the bottom side of the lid, you'll see in 4 places in the middle here, it has these little standoffs on the middle of each side, and that's where these go. These pieces have a wedge shape to them that aligns with the draft on the box here, or the angle of the box. So you just wanna put those so that they're the same. Also, another way to think about it is you'll see the standoff on one side. That's actually going to go towards the bottom of the lid. So this is the bottom of the lid. But it lines up again. The angle of the lid here and the angle of that rubber piece. And you just push them on. It's very simple to install those. Step 9 is to pre-assemble the hinges. So taking pack C or hardware kit C and dumping it out on the table here, I've sorted through and I found the 2 hinge pieces. And you'll notice that one side has kind of a recess for the screws and the other side is flat on both of the hinge pieces. You want to orient them this way so that the recess is on the outside of where the hinge is going to be. Then digging through the hardware, you'll find a number 8 by 32 1.75" long hinge pin screw. So kind of lining up the hole all the way through there. The nice thing is that you have a slot, and it doesn't really matter which side of this you go on, but that lock nut goes into that slot, so you don't need an extra tool to hold that in place while you install the hinge pin screw. Just want to make sure that it's engaged into the lock nut so that it can't back itself off, but the looser it is, the easier this box will be to open and close. I like to put a little bit of friction on it just so that when the lid is open, it will stay open and not want to fall back down on itself. I'm just going to repeat that process now. Again, grabbing the two pieces for the hinge, the longer hinge pin screw, and now I just need to find the lock nut and the lock nut. Now that I know where I want my hinges to be, I just need the lid for step 10. So I'm going to put the BlackPack aside, grab the lid, take the hinge, and the longer side here is what's going to go on top. It'll look like this. And again, you're just lining up the holes that are already here. The really cool thing about this is there's no drilling needed. You're just gonna line those up. The screws that you need are the number 10 half-inch long screws. Basically, they're the shorter ones that are in the kit, and they have like a really kind of spaced out thread pattern. You really wanna go slow with these because they do thread really quickly because of the thread pattern that the screws have. On step 11, before we put this or attach this to the BlackPack, we're gonna go ahead and attach the latch points on the other side. So it's gonna be on the opposing side from where I actually have these hinges installed. I'm gonna put it up here. There's two parts to the latch mechanism here, and the other part that actually goes on the box is in a separate kit. But the part that you need for the lid here is all in that kit C. Again, you want to put these on the opposing side as to where you just installed the hinges. You'll see that you have some pre-drilled spots or some holes there to allow you to install those. They're going to use the same number 10 screws that you use to install the hinges there as well. There is a note in the instructions here that you can use only one of the latches if you want. There's actually a place in the middle of each side that would allow you to screw just one of the latches in. I do prefer both latches, even though it takes an extra step to get into the BlackPack. It's just going to be a little more secure in my opinion if you end up flipping or dropping the BlackPack on the ground or something like that, to keep your gear, especially if you have heavier boxes inside that have a lot of lead weight or something in them. It's just going to be a little stronger and a little more secure. So I've installed both of them here on the pack, and now it's time to move on to step 12. Step 12 is to attach the lid to the box. So it's pretty easy. If you're doing one of the 13 by 13s or 16 by 16s, it really doesn't matter because the box is a perfect square. The hinges have a specific place that they will screw in, and you're going to use those same half-inch screws to do so. It's actually easier if you turn the box on its side here. Now I have the lid attached to the pack. The instructions are pretty clear here for step 13, and there are some images to help you. But just to show you, I'm going to go ahead and just hang that. That's what it's going to look like when it's actually closed and locked in. So you're essentially going to take this part here, and there's screw holes already on the pack that are going to allow you to attach this. You see these 3 holes here? They're going to coincide with the 3 holes that you have here. When you're attaching these 2 parts together, it does kind of snap into place a little bit. If you go in and kind of line those top 2 screw tabs behind it, then you can push and lock these places in. And then I just usually hang it from the latch here and make sure that these holes are lined up, and install the screws that are provided in kit D. Again, it may be easier for you to turn the pack on its end so that you're doing this from the top instead of from the side. But just so that you guys can see it better, I'm going to keep it on the side. Now that I have one installed, I can install the second one. Now I have both of the latches installed on the BlackPack. The next step is to install the Omni corner brackets, which are tether points or tie down points that allow you to strap the thing down in the back of your kayak. Now for me, on one of my boats, I have it closer together, and there's also strap down points that you'll see on the handle itself. So I didn't actually use these because I'm just using the handles instead of the corner brackets. But I'm going to show you how to install those either way, but you may or may not need these in your application. On the corners here, you'll see 2 screw holes kind of close to the top, and those are going to line right up with those. And we're going back to the parts from kit C to find these. So you'll be using those 1/2" screws again, the same ones that you use to attach the hinges to the BlackPack. Again, I find it easier to turn the thing on its end or side so that you can put these in without dropping them or them falling out. You want to orient these where the hook is facing up. That way, if you are going across it with the bungee, you can hold that or capture that bungee. I'm just repeating this step as I go around to each corner of the BlackPack. The Omni corners can be attached in several different locations going up and down each corner. So you may want to put the BlackPack actually in your kayak and see if you can get away with lowering them, or maybe there might be a better position for you and your setup. Again, they can use 1" webbing. They also have hooks on them to attach if you already have bungee installed in your tank well, or you can utilize these clips that come in the kit as well to be able to attach some bungee to it and click it in there. The next step is to attach the tether tubes, and that's step 15. And there are tons of options from where you might want to rig these tether tubes at. And it also can affect the width of the BlackPack. So if you put them on either side here, it's going to grow in size. So you may want to check that as well in your kayak for your setup and make sure that they're going to work for you. For this situation, I'm actually only going to utilize 3 because I have a very specific place that I want this BlackPack to reside, and that's in the back of my Jackson Kayak Kilroy. And that tank well is longer and narrower, so I'm going to put them on the end of this BlackPack here. And I'm only going to put 3 of them on there because I really don't take a lot of rods when I fish out of that kayak, and I don't need the extra. In the actual instructions, it does show you kind of some common placements for the different rod tubes. And depending on where you put them, you can actually raise or lower how these are mounted to it by 1 run. So they're offset, the screw holes here are offset, and if it lines up with the higher one, your tether tube will stick up just slightly above your lid. It doesn't interfere with the lid in any way, but keep that in mind that you can go to the lower one. The only difference there is if you have a shorter rod butt, it's going to be fine, but if your rod butt is a little longer, when your reel is in here, your rod butt may actually hit the floor of the kayak. So you may need, even though it's only an inch or so, you may need that extra length to get the rod butt off the floor so that it can engage this slot here in the tether tube, specifically on a spinning rod. So we're going to install these now, and to do so, you'll need the number 10 1" long screws. Remember, I had those in kit E, which is also where the bungee for the tether tube was. So I set those aside earlier, and I'm going to dump those out now. There are so many options of how you can configure where the handles are, where the strap down points are, where the hinges and latches are, and where the rod tubes are, that it can be a bit overwhelming. So once you have the actual box kind of put together, it may help a lot to go set it in your kayak, see which way you are going to like to have it and how you want to open and close it from the seat, and then you can kind of dial in where everything else goes. Now that I've decided where I'm going to put them, I'm just going to flip the BlackPack over so that I can set them on the top. It's just easier to get the screws in that way. To get the maximum distance between each one of these, I'm actually going to offset. So the middle one will be lower than the 2 on the end, because I'm going to move the end ones as far out as I can get them, just to give me a bigger gap between them so that my reels don't hit each other and get tangled up. Once you have that top screw lined up, the other ones will kind of fall into place. Now I have the 3 tether tubes that I want to install in this pack installed, so I really don't need the 4th one for this, but I am going to keep it because I may change my mind on how I have this set up and configured, and that's really the beauty of it. Now that I've got these installed, I've changed my mind. I'm going to move this middle one up. Here I'll show you real quick, now that I have these tether tubes installed, what I mentioned earlier in the video, that you can actually just take these and kind of pull them over to the side and hook them on the side here. You've got these kind of hook points or tie down tether points, and that keeps the hook from sticking up and being kind of in the way. So I'm just going to do that real quick. You can even pass that bungee back here in the back so that it's out of the way. Keeps them nice and tucked in and out of the way, but when I need them, they're there. And the last and final step is to attach the handles. Again, this is really configurable to your needs. The way I have it set up, I'm going to attach them on either side here, and you can also adjust where you have those at on the actual BlackPack. So I'm going to probably put them somewhere in this area. You can go all the way to the top if you like. But you just kind of find the holes where you want to attach it and line them up so that you can get it where you need to. It's going to use the 1/2-inch screws that were in kit C. So the same ones that you attach the hinges to the platform and the 4 corner pieces to the platform. So now you can just repeat this process on the other side. And again, real quick, you see this gap in the middle, that is for like a 1-inch piece of webbing, or you can also utilize the clips that are in here. These are called the Omni hooks. They were designed to work with the corners, but they also work in the handle. And that's it. I am completely finished with this. The only thing left to do is if I want to actually attach the Omni hooks to bungee that I already have on my kayak, or to some bungees that I want to add to the kayak. So if you want to do those, you have those included in the kit, but that is how you install and put together the Yakattack BlackPack. If you want to see my full review of the BlackPack, be sure to check that out as well on the channel. And as always, thanks for watching. Road Trip Angler would like to thank our global partners for helping support the mission to get people outside and on the water.